know. Okay. And because, we
Hey,
don't
Renee.
have officers yet, I'll just call the meeting to order. That's 7:41. We did pretty good for all of our meetings. And then I listed you in order simply by how you were on the resolution in terms of your length of term. So, and Ryland Eichhorst,
Sure.
you are a council member, not a mayor in this group. So, Jamie Roth. Is it Rothy or Roth?
It's Rothy.
Rothy, okay, thank you. Jeff Shue,
Here.
okay, if I use mess up your name, please let me know.
Yep, I think you said it right, Shupi.
It's okay. Marcia Krieger. You, Adam Beasley,
That's correct.
Dave Berger, Jan Thompson.
Mhm.
Thank you. So there's just this brief agenda. I know there's some confusion on whether we were staying for a half hour or an hour. And frankly, I can't remember, so we will process. Are you okay with going to 8:30 or is 8 o'clock good?
Earlier the better, Sunny.
8
Whatever we
o'clock
can-
good? Here's the biggest thing.
If we get through it.
I only have three things. One is I wanted to, well, I'll tell you. Is just an overview and the distribution of materials that you have. And then discussion, here's the big thing, setting a regular date and meeting. Typically our meetings are at 6:30 in the city and, I think you were the only one that actually had a firm. And what was it, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. And there's no reward for that, so it's just as a group wanting to get you to get together and select that. That's gonna work for everybody best, knowing what you now know about open meeting law and disclosures. And then the last thing, if we have time or if you have interest in electing some officers, we could do that. I did send you the statute. I don't have my copy with me. I think we were looking at a chair. Vice
President,
chair.
Secretary.
Okay.
Secretary Treasurer.
I mean, when you say the meetings, Tuesdays, I got the first Tuesday, first Tuesday and the third Tuesday. Is, one of the board.
Well, and the third Tuesday is our council meeting,
Right.
so that's how.
Yeah, I was saying, it's the first or third, Tuesday, it
Right.
seems, everyone seems to want to do a Tuesday. For whatever reason, but I know that the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday, I'm on the boards and everything.
Yeah, I said, Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, because those are the days I'm in Oregon.
Right, I understand, I just, oh, that's.
So I'm good with not Tuesday as well.
Your email says, Sunny, the authority shall elect a president, treasurer, and secretary.
President, treasurer, and secretary.
The statute is a bit more in detail. than that.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
elected
me,
president,
right.
vice
I got
president,
that.
treasury,
I
and
wanna do that.
secretary, An assistant treasurer. They think you're, just a bit shorter.
Well, it's actually two conflicting sentences here, the authority. And an authority shall elect the president, vice president, treasurer, a secretary and an assistant treasurer. And then it goes on, the authority shall elect the president, treasurer, and secretary. And I'm not sure if the "the" refers to this authority or how that works.
Yeah, statute is president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and an assistant. Oh, that next sentence, the authority shall elect the president, treasurer, and secretary annually. So that's the annual piece. So,
Oh, okay.
yes,
That's,
so
gotcha.
those are all the. What did they do? Okay, that's the difference.
Okay.
And a commissioner must not serve as president and vice president at the same time. So those are the topics on the agenda. And approve your very first solo agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
You. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Way to go, right? Okay, so then. I gave you the materials with the handbook, and we're not gonna take the time to read it, but I thought that would be was, if you don't know, written by one of my favorite professors. And pleased to see that Beat is still using it, so. Valuable information. That can, will guide us, going forward as we set our bylaws and get that, work in progress. Those are kind of the organizational things that we'll be doing, and there's a checklist in there. And we also, we have a contract with CEDA, which is, what's the C part? Community Economic Development.
Associates. Community Economic Development Associates.
Okay, yeah, they've been around for a long time, so, we have a little bit left on the existing contract. And then we wanna certainly, start thinking about what we would want the city to include in the budget for next year.
Was the original contract just to help establish, like, do some of this beginning work and then goes more into an operational support?
Right.
Okay.
Right,
We were a little behind. We thought we'd be ahead of where we are.
Sorry.
CEDA, so we could,
Sure.
we've reached out
Oh, yeah.
earlier, but we're a little, we fell behind a little bit.
Yeah,
but-
we started early 2022, change of staff, and then kind of our back shelf for now.
since starting up, our goal was to make sure that we were having our first meeting in May.
Just barely.
So, that's a good thing. So, in my view, we're on target and still got, a lot of work to go, but we want to stay ahead of the curve as we know the growth is coming. And so I, individually and collectively want to thank you, for stepping up. And, I know that each of you is bringing something to this table, and collectively, we have the best interest of Orinoco at hand. And sometimes those will perhaps compete. And so I wanted to make sure that we were all getting off on the right foot in terms of understanding what open meeting law is, even if it's a refresher for some people. Understanding data practices and good questions that we had, and the conflict of interest of all the groups. I kind of see the EDA as having perhaps the greatest potential for conflict of interest. And it will be important that you hold each other accountable in terms of disclosure and recusing yourself if necessary. Any questions for me? Okay, and then I will have more materials for you as we go. One of the questions I have is, do you have a preference for how you would like this to be provided to you? Do you want 3-ring binders to keep things in? Do you want work folders? Do you want only electronic? Do you have a preference for how you receive the materials?
Sunny, are we going to receive email accounts? Because if that's the case, then it may make sense to save on paper costs and transmit stuff by email.
Right. I need to figure out how many email accounts that we're allowed to have under our current contract, because I'm not sure what that is. So let me check on that, but what I heard him say tonight is that would be preferable, so that you all have that, and then even for the planning and zoning, they don't have theirs either. So we're also expanding that area too. So, but it does make sense.
One option might be, even if you're not able to give everyone an email account, if everyone set up a separate email account for this activity, that makes it easier should there be a data request, and it makes it easier for you, and it makes it easier for all of us. So even if it's a Hotmail account or a Gmail account or something like that, we could do that if we had to. Better to have accounts that are city accounts,
Yeah.
presumptively government data, but I certainly wouldn't mind doing that. More phones.
So my question is when you say set that up, it's on someone else's server that you just log into, so that you don't have to put it on your own private laptop, or where it just, as I talk with it, the thing is, if I download something on my own laptop, then that becomes acceptable.
Well, here's.
So I don't know, that's what I was wondering, if there's a cloud that you've got to go to that.
Here's my government phone. Here's my personal phone. On my government phone, I have just my government information. On my personal phone, I have several email accounts. I have the government email account, so I can use it if I need to. And I also have my personal email account, and there could be an email account for Orinoco. I mean, that's another possibility. So we're not really talking about so much servers as we are talking about where are you going to store your email?
That's what I'm asking, is I really prefer not to put it on my own private. I do business on my own stuff, and so the question is this, as he talked about, someone says, oh, well, you might have something on that, here's your laptop. You hand it over, and there's more information on my laptop than that. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing with the EDA.
Sure, but that won't be affected by what email account you have.
If you have,
But you gotta read the data. I guess I'm not quite understanding, because you gotta read the data and the stuff comes on your reply, and that's why I'm saying is to, if I wanna look at something and download something, to keep as you said, not a paper program, then that's my question is,
But if it's in an EDA account
okay,
versus a Gmail account. And we get a data practices request. I'm not gonna care about what's over here. But I may need to know what's in this.
well, I just wanna make sure
So
that,
that's why we're
Okay.
looking to separate.
okay, that's what I definitely want, because if I do it on my own personal computer, I don't want any conflict of
Right.
them coming and saying, hey, I want. 'cause my
If you
information-
take a document that comes with an email and you download it to your computer, that's how it would get on your computer.
Okay,
If it's attached to the email and you just store it in a file that's associated with the email account, it's gonna always be with the email.
I'd rather do paper. I mean, I just, in today's age, I'm not trusting I'm not trusting the government very well. And I do that, there's no doubt, and I would rather do paper. Cause I can hand my notebook over to them and say, here's what I have.
I don't think, I mean, it's something to ask the city attorney. But my experience, like when within data practice, they can't search like your computer in this space. They just would ask for your email.
Yep.
So for example, they would say, we would like to see all emails that have this word in it, like, and so that's what you're running then your report on and then gets
Okay.
turned in. But I don't think that you have to do it in your files, but this is a different situation. So if you wanna do by paper, I think it's fine. I'm super happy to accommodate by paper.
Sure, I
But,
can do it on
um,
paper.
But I,
Well, I don't.
but I think clarifying what actually can get
I just gotta
requested, so you can
understand.
keep your private business
I think
private.
what Dan's concerned with is that utilizing the personal computer and downloading something to it would pierce that, you know.
If my printer at home, if I want to print a document off that EDA file, I print it off my printer. But I have to kind of download or do something to be able to print or do something, maybe not, and I don't know, that's why I say is that,
Print it out of your email account, out of an
Okay.
attachment.
okay, well,
But yeah,
if I understand that, I just gotta make sure that I understand that. I like electronic, but I just, in today's age.
Yep.
I'm not trusting a lot of things right now, so.
Well, and the other thing too, just to clarify is providing information or data in that regard isn't, if it's coming from me, I'm already gonna have it, right?
Right,
They'd be looking more for communications rather than materials or
okay, well, I just
documents.
want
or
to
stuff.
understand a little bit better so
Good
that
question. Good question.
but it may be easier for you, rather than having some people in paper and some people electronic, to choose one or the other. It may be that paper is the better way to go if everybody's willing to accommodate that too.
My assumption is that just like council, anything that's emailed, like agendas and supportive information, that's public information, and that would be emailed to our group because that's nothing, like you said, is going to be there.
Yeah.
And that would never, I mean, if it's gonna get asked for from a data practice perspective, it would be available because it's public record.
Right.
It's when we start to get into contract negotiations of those types of things. That's more private information, and perhaps as we get closer to that step, we can pause as a group to say, okay, we're starting to enter this and making sure that
Well,
we're
I
in. we're
can
getting the
agree to
right-
that, like I said, I just want to be able to understand it before something starts flying in your direction and.
It's important for staff to be able to email simply because it's way less time consuming than printing out packets than everybody's having to get them. And you'll be able to get those packets earlier than you would be if they were printed. I personally like them printed too, because I look at a computer a lot all day and it hurts my eyes if I have to look at it more at night. Yeah, and I like
Yeah.
making notes. So I prefer both. I'm high maintenance on for sending it.
I think maybe
But-
the initial step would be to get a personal email that's
Yeah.
totally separate from everything else.
Yep, I agree.
But it would be nice if that continued, that we had the same naming convention, you know, so that we were all, you know, Jeff at
Yeah.
EDA, Orinoco, or at Gmail, you know, whatever it is, so that it's not like 7 different emails of 7
Right.
different things.
Sunny, if it's possible to have email accounts through the city, that's the very best.
Right. And if we
I think
can't do
that's
that,
top drawer.
then I will assign you ones
Great.
to set up probably through.
that's fine.
Okay,
So the limitation you talked about, today we have orinoco.com. You're looking at orinoco.gov.
mhm.
Is there a difference between those two? .com, .gov versus limiting the factors that we could all have? One or the other? Number of users, I guess, for email addresses. Is that the question you really have?
It would probably just be more of a cost issue, as I'm assuming. That's the issue.
Right.
It's not. It's just under our current plan, I'm sure.
Right, the number of emails that you want to use, whether, however you name.
Yeah, okay.
Because initially, the Orinoco.com will migrate into your Orinoco.gov.
Right.
So there's kind of some duplication.
One other option could be set up a group Gmail account where it still all goes to one back to central location. Like when I was a board member on a Rosemont Hockey Association, they managed the account, but I was, you know, my name and then Rosemont Hockey at gmail.com, you know, but it was given to me. And then they
Yeah.
managed it
Mhm.
behind the scenes. So it's still,
And that's the naming
folded.
convention that you're
But,
talking
yeah.
about, yeah.
You tell us the name.
Can
I'll
we,
get back to you.
can we have it just sent to our city one? Or do we need another EDA? Really, no, I don't want another email.
I just wondered if, because we're all separate entities, you almost gotta keep it separate. I, is what he's talking here, I would almost say that your business is separate. You put the hat on at the EDA, and then when you go to city council, you're a city council member. That's different, that's what I would think, to keep everything. When people look, like there's no that people aren't saying the mere appearance of a conflict.
Right,
Like just my thought, but
Well, I don't know where, I mean, you're getting this information no matter what. I don't know what the email address has to do with it. It's just being able to pull the information out if you need to quickly, which I can, because it's not like I'm not getting personal emails in my city. Anyway,
So,
you figure that
yeah,
out, you let me know,
and then
I'll do
set up
whatever.
a different folder for EDA.
Yes,
versus-
exactly, just like you do people, because we're all part of different, you know, P and Z, we're all part of, we're on different things, so. We're used to having to filter out emails, so I would imagine it'd be the same.
And that would work as long as you were on the council, right?
Yeah, and then once I wasn't, then I would need it. Yeah,
Okay, okay, we'll get back to that. Okay, and then perhaps initially what I will do, is what I do for council, and planning and zoning. We'll send you the agenda and supporting documentations by email and ask if you would like me to, you know, print a hard copy for you, let me know. And then please don't reply all, just let me know. So I'll do that and then we'll kind of go from there. And then,
Do the new members, they need to have a separate inbox in the council, in the city office?
well,
I mean, we have them already for council, but do they need individual inboxes for documents, whatever? How
not
does it happen?
initially, but, and I'm also wanting to get a different setup for providing you with information for council, planning and zoning, fire departments.
you just want to do set up aside.
I want
Yeah,
to do. a-
that makes sense.
More to come. More to come.
Right.
So then, regular meeting day and time.
So, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw Monday out. Cause it seems like, I know it's Monday and nobody likes Monday, but then you get out of the way and you have the weekend to review before the meeting. And we just don't have a ton of council meetings on Monday nights. There's only one night conflict, or there's only one conflict in that parks and fire. which I'm not, so. I don't know. Or is that too hard for you? Does the Monday not work well for you?
Mondays work for me as long as it's not same week as planning and zoning.
Second week.
Or council, probably for you, right?
No, she just goes, she works from home.
So how long do
Are the meetings, would you, in the beginning here, would you say would be an hour? I mean, as we start initially setting everything up,
6:30. Hour and a half. I would say.
you know, like I said, the meetings I have are 6:30 at night. So, on a Tuesday, so if we can do it, I know your council's at 6:30, but if the person might meet earlier. So I mean, if you got your Tuesday blocked, already for your council meeting, if you wanna come earlier or whatever, then you're here and
No,
you're not meeting the same, I just didn't know, I'm just throwing that out, is there?
they've been running 4 hours. So
On their
no,
own.
yeah, so no, thank you.
I'm good with Monday.
Does Monday work?
Jamie, does Monday work?
Yeah, it'll just be shuffling kids around, as long, you know, in sports and things, they change each season, but I think I can commit to a Monday once a month. Fine.
You, Monday?
And we're talking what, once a month?
Same boat. Coaching soccer on Mondays, but if it's once a month that I miss practice, that's okay, missing the games. It's so hard.
You do every Monday?
But that's only through July or so, so it doesn't.
Oh.
The next season will be something else.
Right, it always
And
changes,
the
it's
next
always
season will be
changes.
Tuesday, Thursday, so yeah,
Right.
anything's fine, Mondays are good.
It's never, there's never a night that's truly free, yeah.
The question is which Monday? in a month?
Second would be the best, probably.
Second? The second Monday.
Right, Sunny, is that the one that
Well-
would not be P and Z?
Because you're not here a second Monday,
Oh,
because
what?
P and Z. So the only Mondays would be the first Monday, but we have Parks,
P and Z?
or the third Monday, which is the Monday before council meeting.
And that's the one that's hard for Sunny. Right?
We don't want to do
The other piece
Tuesday.
I'm wondering is flow of information, not that we're into that space, but do
Right.
we need, like, if we're approving something here for recommendations there? Like, is there time that it needs to get into the packet or something like that? Like,
Right.
that's the other thing that I'm
Good
thinking
Yeah.
of, is just the flow.
So
When we get to that point, which,
the last, not that I wanna throw this out there because it is our good week. It is our good week. The last week of the month, we tend not to have meetings.
The fourth Monday?
Well, just the fourth week anytime, you know, like that's our only free non-city meeting week.
Right, but I'm just, I mean,
Um,
we've talked about the first, we've talked about the second, we've talked about the third. That would be the fourth.
The fourth is Gold Rush, which is the Thursday night, the first Thursday is Gold Rush.
But that's Thursday, but we're talking Monday.
shifting to Thursday?
Okay,
Right,
right.
remember?
You used to
I just-
be
I
on
thought-
Monday.
we're on Thursday.
Marcia said, talk about the fourth, I thought you were talking about,
Oh,
So if you do the last
excuse me.
Monday, if you just say the last Monday, it's kind of like Gold Rush is the third weekend of August, doesn't matter what the date is, it's always the third week. So if you just said the last Monday, if there's 5 Mondays in
Right,
a thing, it's, you just always know it's the last Monday of the month, that's. To me, I'm just saying this, when you throw that out, sometimes we do it that way.
yeah, no, that's what we would do.
you said the last or the fourth? I would say the fourth.
I would say
The fourth Monday.
there will always be a fourth.
I really
Monday.
enjoy that week of no meetings.
I know, but how else do we do it? It's
Starting
so,
at 5:30.
can everybody do that though? Starting at 5:30 when? Before the council meeting?
Well, no, just 5:30 on P and Z or Parks or Gold Rush or any night, 5:30.
So, but then we're limited to that hour.
To start out with, yeah. But I guess it all depends, we don't need an hour and a half, or
Or I guess we're not limited because not all of us have to join a different meeting and we can always meet in a different space. Or do we not have a different space now? We don't have a different
no, this
space
is the
now.
only one.
We're working to not have.
So we have to work around the schedule in here.
Um,
So you're throwing out a different, is there,
Then it's that week, the fourth week then. The
Would
fourth
you-
Monday,
Well, if we get it out of the way, so then it's the rest of the week.
That works for me.
the only thing, doing fourth Monday, then we're 3, 4 weeks before a council decision. Because we meet on the third Tuesday is the council meeting. So the fourth Monday would be activity or recommendations or approval of anything on the council meeting. The third, which is 5 weeks away in some cases.
Just another question, all the holidays fall on Monday. Some of the holidays fall on a Monday, I mean, Memorial Day, and so Labor Day. Sometimes, well, Labor Day is always like the first part of September, but in that case, then what would be delayed from holding the meeting and then,
We just pick a different date usually.
okay, that's fine, I just be able to do it during, if it was conflict, then you're not waiting on a decision from the council.
Well, and in the case of May, the fourth Monday would have been the 22nd.
Mhm.
Fifth would have been Memorial Day, so it would have been unaffected by that.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine, I just,
Well,
When you do a special city council meeting, is it usually surrounding one topic, or will you pull other topics into that as well?
Typically, it's 1 or 2 specific agendas, no public forum. We kind of avoid those if we have to, but if it's a time limit with a loan or a contract or something like that, we have done that in the past, but we try and.
So that's always an option if.
Always an
something's very
option, yeah.
important, As opposed to waiting the 3 weeks to get in front of city council.
And I think, no doubt, I think we will have situations like that, just because wastewater project is gonna be done and people are gonna be asking for responses and we may have to have those special meetings, I don't know. But typically, if that's special, then usually the P and Z is gonna be special or,
I don't know, I see it maybe as being a good thing though, because if you had to have a public hearing or, then you would have that time to pull that together.
Yeah.
Versus so often with P and Z, we're crunched and you don't have enough time to do it. So this way, we would be giving staff enough time to pull all the
I
information
also
together.
think that we may be turning to, the city attorney to do some drafting. And having 3 weeks to do drafting will be better for him than having to do turnaround time.
good point.
So to me, the 3 weeks doesn't bother me.
I think also as somebody, we've filed permits all the time with cities and variances and things like that, and we're never special. We always just know that we have to wait 3
Here's the
weeks
date.
or 4. We missed the date by 1 day. They just had a meeting.
Mhm.
We have to wait an entire month, and it's just kind of how it
Mhm.
goes.
To answer an earlier question, usually Sunny and Renee like to have the packet information the Tuesday before, the week before the meeting.
Absolutely.
Tuesday noon, we always have stuff that dribbles in,
So it's really only
probably
2
more
weeks.
than we like.
Mhm.
Sunny would agree.
and I've been given the go-ahead to draw the line in the sand more firmly. And stuff coming in late, so.
wonder if there's a way also for us, I mean, we could just try something. And reevaluate it after so many months. See
Absolutely.
how it's going, like from an operational side, are things flowing correctly?
Yeah.
Do we miss something in our conversation? And then, could have a conversation, as a group to see how it's working.
I like it.
Works for
I
me.
think Marcia makes a good point about the time between EDA and council. And have the attorney respond in a timely fashion, so.
Well, and especially if it's got something that EDA needs to weigh in on as well as P and Z before it goes to council.
Yeah, that's it. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good point.
That's a good point, because I can see, like he was talking about, the ad hoc committees that could come out of this EDA too, and it gives us time to respond.
Well, how about I make a motion? I move that we set our regular meetings on the fourth Monday of the month at 6:30 p.m.
Second that.
6:30 day,
6:30 to 8.
is that correct?
The time,
It's 6:30
30.
for an hour. Hour and a half.
I
Just to
didn't-
get specific, doesn't matter,
Beginning.
or
Just the
6:30.
starting time.
Just a
Yeah,
starting
that-
point.
Okay.
Just use.
And what, it worked really well tonight, the way we set kind of, hey, this is the time that we have, because we have been running way too long, and we don't.
I'll second your motion.
Right, oh, I already seconded
Oh,
it,
you did,
Jane.
okay.
Alright. So yeah, that, I like that idea, once we get going, like, okay, tonight, here's what we're gonna do, yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then, would you like to elect officers or do you want to proceed to take nomination, or we can do that at the next meeting?
At the end of June.
Is there a plan to do, is each year gonna be a new president, vice president, treasurer, or is it gonna be a period where they're gonna involve and you go from the treasurer, next year, you're vice president, year thereafter, you're the president, so you kind of go through that chain of command and are familiar, if that were the case, then maybe there's already preset terms for everybody that's here, maybe it would make sense to just fill in the blanks with, or is that not the case? Do we plan to do a new president, or, you know, not somebody within the chain of command, just a new president, new vice president, new treasurer each year?
That's probably part of your discussion on bylaws, I'm thinking. How you would want to address that,
There's something to
It
be
would
said
be in the
for-
bylaws. That's where it would go.
right?
There's something to be said for the continuity of that, you know, going through that chain of command, you get elected to treasurer, and now you know you're gonna be vice president next year, president next year, and you're familiar with the recent events as opposed to bringing in somebody new and filling it in.
Right.
But we could elect officers right now, just with the idea that we're gonna be doing bylaws in this first year and incorporate into the bylaws as things work, how we want to handle the rollover, so to speak. The end of the year.
The only, I would just caution on the treasurer report, because that's not what anybody wants.
It sounds like nobody wants to do it.
Well, no, I mean, like, you
That's
don't,
not what we're
this
asking
group,
for.
the
No, I know.
city. Anybody does not want me handling anything with numbers.
Right. I think at our last meeting, that just about everybody raised their hand and said that same thing. It's just-
Secretary,
it's-
nobody wanted that.
Oh, yeah.
People, so I'm just saying, like, that is a little bit of a, that's a
Yeah.
niche that maybe not everybody is good at. So maybe
That makes sense.
everybody, and when I say everybody, I'm like, this lady should not be rotating into that position.
Yeah, I'm with you there and I agree.
So question, are you doing this, are you starting tonight, a year term? Or did the year term start in 23? New term starts in 24? What are you set, I guess, what are you set up for?
The terms end December 31st of every year.
Okay, so
So-
just right now, there's 6 months. 6 months,
This first year, is that right?
yeah, so I'm a 1-year person at 6 months, so, January, or coming in December 31st.
Did you get that in December or just the end of December?
So that January 1, you'd be having to elect, you know, probably at the
Or in
December meeting.
December,
you
you
would
elect,
elect
yeah, for the
officers
next calendar year.
Cause you choose a month for your annual meeting where you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not seeing, and I'm quick scanning, and I know I read this before, but I'm not seeing that there's a limit on how many terms you could hold in office. It just says that the president, treasurer, and secretary are elected annually.
And can't be the same
So that'd be a
person,
bylaw
right?
discussion.
No, it doesn't say that.
Oh.
It doesn't say that. It just says they have to be elected annually. So
So the
it
same person
doesn't,
could get
it
elected.
doesn't limit whether someone could serve several years in a row.
Oh, but I meant it couldn't be both president and,
vice president.
Okay.
Yeah, those two.
okay,
The other offices may be held by the same.
okay.
So as the terms end, how does that work then? Does it, you put an announcement out that you're looking for?
Yep. We'll do the same thing that we did for council and planning and zoning. We did in advance. Let it be known that terms are expiring, candidates can apply. Or interviews. Ultimately, yeah. it
What,
will be
what
that
this
way.
really argues for is the completion of the bylaws before the end of this year.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And, I don't know if there's a form of bylaws that have been used by other EDAs, but it would be smart to start with that.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Would CETA be able to
I think
direct
there's
us
a,
on that?
I think there's a.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the question goes back to, so then the one term year is up again, so then the person elected back on for a 1-year term. And a 1-year term until the positions come up differently. For the, I think there's what, 2-4?
What are the term lengths? Is there set term lengths or is that part of our bylaw creation?
No, they had,
Statutorily,
And those are-
and that's where I made the mistake because I had 2 for the 2-year. And I really needed 2 in the 6-year term.
So there's, so
so,
there's 7 seats, and you're saying there were 2 a year, 2
Two.
6 year?
Or for 6 years, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2,
Year 3.
1,
So-
1.
so you always gonna be electing the 1-1. In other words, you're always gonna be electing the 1-1 for the next 2 years,
No,
and then,
No,
What's
no,
that?
that'll go to the top, that person will go to the top.
oh, that person goes to 6.
right.
Okay, well, that's what I was just wondering how that functions.
Subsequent appointments are statutory.
And we'll get to this later too, I suppose, but an argument could be made for night. It'd be nice to have that immediate past president spot too, right? The person who's president, ideally not ending their term at presidency, but rather maybe the next year to help, you know, with the continuity of what's been going on and assisting the current president they need to with.
Yeah, I think the next thing is we gotta start to, if we can reach out to another city for the bylaws.
We've got a sample right here.
Okay, we'll do that, we'll be able to stick that out there. I guess that would be the next meeting, I would say that's what we need
It's
to
in
work
there,
on.
right?
There's samples in here.
34.
Yep.
Just because there's not many of us, I would like to see us think about combining maybe the vice and the treasurer together or something like that. Just sometimes.
Well, there are several of us, they're not good with numbers.
And I know that we'll use like, we'll probably use an accountant outside of us. Sunny, just correct me if I'm wrong, I would. And maybe it's you.
I need more to bite.
Well, the offices of secretary and assistant treasurer need not be held by a commissioner. So those could fall to staff,
Oh, okay, okay.
but the treasurer,
Yeah, someone's gotta be on the hook.
Always.
So for between now and December 31st this year, should we elect an interim president, vice president, secretary treasurer, or should we, you as the executive director, hold the meetings through December 31st and have our first election officially in December, effective on January next year? Throw that out for a thought.
So when you say election, is that we're voting among us?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm wondering also, just with that, what makes me think about is, maybe the documentation in here, something of description of the role itself, responsibilities could be helpful
it's in the statute.
in this treasurer side, but I was looking for the vice president and president, like what the responsibilities were.
Well, how about we study the materials we've got? with regard to that, because that might be in there, in here. The roles, what the duties, I guess that's what it is, the duties of those positions. And with the idea that we, wait until our next meeting to decide whether we want interim officers or whether, looks like to me, just a quick flip through this, is there's gonna be the creation of the EDA as a legal entity. It's gonna require filing with the Secretary of State and gathering, or with whatever body it is that we file it with. And there's a resolution that accompanies that. It's generally at that time, you also do your bylaws. And in fact, the resolution, the sample resolution makes reference to the bylaws. So I think Ryland has a good idea. If we kind of give the EDA some structure right now, looking at our bylaws and setting it up as the corporate entity that it's gonna be, that's the point at which we can decide that we need to have the interim officers. We would then have a much better idea what those officers each do.
Right, the only thing I'm gonna say is statute says an authority shall. So I'm not sure that we can,
Does it say when?
no, but we've already adopted the resolutions.
To create.
The enabling resolution, and we adopted the resolutions naming the officers and setting terms. I gotta get those for you too.
Not naming the officers.
Not naming the officers, no, naming the
Yeah,
commissioners. I'm sorry, did I?
Yeah, you said,
Okay,
So only
so,
my third, fourth meeting today.
okay, so how about this? We study these documents with the idea that we're going to set out a marching plan as to election of officers and bylaws and all that kind of stuff at the next meeting. Does that make sense? Then we have a much better idea what we're doing.
Well, and then I think, having read through this, the ideas will flow, right?
Right.
We like this, we don't like this, or I agree, that's what I encourage you to.
Does it say with 7 members exactly what the positions are in that document?
I haven't read this document yet.
What did I say?
It doesn't-
President, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and assistant treasurer.
But those two don't need to be,
Yeah,
those two can be someone outside of the.
right.
So that would
And-
be 5.
it doesn't reference 5 or 7. The positions.
So there's three positions that need to be held by one of us.
And then the rest, you can just you're just a contributing member.
Yes.
Okay,
Remember, you know,
not everybody has an official title.
Correct.
Okay.
Although there are those two, you could be those of you who are afraid to be the treasurer might want to be the assistant.
No, that's.
Practice your way.
Yeah, I
You're
think
the
it's-
assistant.
It's just a small bonding.
Actually, yeah,
For the
it's,
treasurer too, I think, so.
if
Well,
you
that-
wanna see what each of the officers do, it's at pages 44 and 45 of the materials. This is a draft set of bylaws. Now, arguably, these could be changed, I assume, if we chose to. We wanna make sure that the changes comport with state statute. That's what the lawyers want. But it gives us an idea what each of the jobs is.
And I have done some research, the Wanamaker, Pine Island, Dover, Yoda, people that have had EDAs for 40 and 50 years, there are some that have bylaws that I can share with Sunny if you want to see those as well.
As we get to that, copies of others.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea if we could. maybe-
They're all they're very similar to.
Sure, these
Simplicity.
resemble just plain old corporate bylaws. It should be nice to know what other people did.
Well, and keep in mind too, that your initial bylaws are your initial bylaws. They can be amended. Which could very well be, you know, those
Sure.
cities maybe started with the handbook version and moved on.
So this isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
What were we thinking here?
that's right. So maybe we could get some bylaws in place too, and that helps us get going.
Well, here's my goal for you. Every meeting we make progress.
This is our homework for the rest of June.
And our next meeting is June.
26th.
You at 6:30 PM. And we are only 3 minutes over.
Did I understand correctly, Sunny, that if we need to zoom in, we can, or is that create a cumbersome meeting for you? Like if it's a person on vacation, do we, you know, and give 3 days notice? That'll be in a computer in a hotel room or something like that. Is that acceptable or just assume that that person missed that meeting?
I have to post the meeting 3 days in advance. So that means, you know, for a Monday meeting, worst
Wednesday.
case scenario is gonna be
Yeah.
Friday.
When the advance
But-
notice thing doesn't sound, I'm just thinking in terms of vacations, might happen a couple times a year at worst.
Right.
But oftentimes Mondays will get rolled into a long weekend or something, so
Right.
if I know in advance that there's gonna be, you know, in an Airbnb in Wisconsin, you can just share that address plenty of days with notice, but still attend without missing the meeting.
Right.
Okay, it's not too much of a pain in the tail to,
No, but
Zoom
you
in.
just need to let me know in advance
Yeah.
of that 3 days
Sure.
notice, cause I can't be pushing that at
yeah,
all.
that part is some concern.
So if you know, like a week, and remember, the agendas hopefully will be out a week in advance,
Sure.
so. You're rolling your eyes?
No, I was looking at Jamie.
Oh.
I was thinking about asking Jamie for her copy of bylaws from the organization. that she
I can bring a copy too and send them to you.
did it on.
Yeah, if you wanna email it to me, I can
I'm sorry, I don't like.
blind.
Oh, no, that's all I had. I was just trying to figure if I need to plan vacations around these meetings or be okay to attend the meeting while on vacation. And I'll always have plenty of notice of that. So it's not about notice time, it's about, should I try to avoid the fourth Monday when it comes to planning life events?
Right. And.
Try to avoid.
Try to avoid.
Try to avoid.
Know that it's okay.
I hope
Life
we don't-
happens.
we don't mandate anybody to skip their vacation.
I'm gonna.
So I
go
know
on
I'm
vacation,
missing one
even if
meeting
it
already,
involves
so-
a Monday.
Just remember, it's the exception to the rule,
Yeah.
not the rule.
Yep.
Any other questions? You all have my email. Thank you for responding. Send you stuff. And my good friend here who keeps me on task. Any news? Any news? I love
Just
it.
making sure it wasn't missing anything.
Any motion to adjourn?
I have one quick question, relevant to studying the information on the positions. Then we're to take it a step further to say if we identify with a particular position. And then what does it look like in the form of an election? Do we go around, what position do you want, you know, so on and so forth, and then how does that format look?
If you're, might I suggest, if you're interested in a position and it resonates with you, maybe you could let me know. And then at the next meeting, I can let, on the agenda, share, you know, people that are willing to step up. And then we'll do the formal nominations and elections. At that meeting.
At that same meeting, And is it anybody that nominates, like anybody can nominate a person? Is it open if there's no other? It's not like forming the EDA where the mayor had to.
No,
Okay, it's anybody.
it's
Okay.
within this group.
Okay.
And it can be as formal or as informal as we want to do.
So far, because we have no audience.
That's right.
Or bylaws.
One question about with EDA, and I don't know if it's written any place, but is there a public forum with EDA meetings?
No,
Question, I wasn't aware of that, but I thought for our discussion today,
you can build one in if you want.
if you want to.
Like on our city council, our city code outlines what the agenda format would be. For allowance for flexibility. But that's often something that's built into the bylaw. Whereas with, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Whereas the city council, planning and zoning, and to a certain extent EDA, you all have to follow city code. And then within the operational side of it, the EDA has probably more flexibility because it's a separate body politic. And will operate more so from its own bylaws with guidance from the P and Z will really keep your endeavors
Does
abiding by.
does it make sense, Sunny, for each of us to have a copy of the code?
It's online. You
Okay.
certainly will
I've used
to
it
do that.
online and I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the paper.
Yeah.
Like paper.
Well, I have no problem looking stuff online, it's just when I put it in mine. That I want it to be mine, not,
Right,
I'm very cautious, I mean,
right. Well, and
that's why I
I'm a
have
big,
Facebook.
I'm a big note taker and highlighter and
As we move forward, and maybe this is a stupid question, but what are we actually getting? And then what would warrant an actual vote among the board? Does it have to do with money additionally, if there's loan or things like that? I mean, if McDonald's wants to post up, you know, in the southwest corner of, it's not like we're voting on McDonald's coming to town, you know, or something like that. If there's, so is that traditionally where we go to a vote is when there's money, city money involved? Is there any other scenarios?
well, is if you want, for example, if the city wanted to purchase some land with the goal of developing its own industrial park down the road.
Mhm.
That would be an area where you would want to have that vote. And if some other scenarios are gonna be the loan process. What kind of loans funding is this body wanting to, one, apply for? Two, what's the word I'm looking for? Manage, but it's similar to manage. Yeah, yeah, because you're gonna have to, make sure that whatever funds you're loaning are in line with what you agreed to in the document for accepting the money. And the accepting the money, is that still gonna have to go to council? If this
No, I would-
body,
We're just like a part of a donation, yeah. I think there would be just because it'd be accepted with resolution. So I'd have to go to council for approval to accept the donation or funding or whatever it is, yeah. I'm sure auditors would like that too.
right? Yeah,
The question is, for the treasurer, we talked about treasurer, where's the money, in other words, we're just starting, so where does the money you have to have a treasurer watch the money, so where's the money coming from in the sense of to go into our treasury that you're watching over treasury? So if you can start out with zero, and there's nothing there, your balance sheet is zero, and so now the question is, you talk about
This
owning
is the
money.
time to be the treasurer.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said, you can start out, you'd be very easy to be the treasurer because I got zero and next month I got zero because I haven't taken anything in and my balance is still zero.
What I've seen.
But the thing is, the question is then, in some places, it's gotta go to the state of Minnesota, so then everyone's always on the hook for something, so when you apply to the state, and do different things. Secretary of State, then that treasury report of our EDA gotta go on a monthly basis this time. The Secretary Treasurer saying that our balance sheet is this.
So it's a budget line item, so the city of Orinoco would allocate, my understanding, city of Orinoco would budget $40,000 to EDA.
Okay.
EDA,
EDA. So they put the
so
$40,000.
that's the seed money, if you will.
Okay,
Now, here's where we rely on CETA to help us identify grants for different businesses for downtown development or setting up like applying for a grant for a daycare center. You know, that's where we work with CETA. And, I don't know if the money would come from the EDA fund or from the CETA fund in our city budget, but it all originates from the city.
okay, well, that's why I was just curious, so you got the account there, now you're looking, now I've got X amount of money in the account. And again, I guess I can't see that as very first 6 months here that we get started.
So along those lines, I don't know when the appropriate time is, but when we're gonna have. I think because we're having a first meeting, we should let Chris Geeson know we have established or had a first meeting. And,
I copied him on the,
pardon me?
I copied him.
Okay, so as far as they're identifying their CETA representative and working with us, because we do have some funds left to use them in our. Now their fiscal year runs from 30 June to 1 July to 30 June, and ours run calendar year, so. I think we still have some funds left that you reached an agreement with CETA to use for our balance of our 2023, so.
Yeah.
So we should probably use that too, in whatever role, but.
Use it or lose it, kind of.
I don't know if the CETA representative should be here, because they will need to identify who is going to be our representative.
I didn't get a chance to follow up with Chris, but I have copied him. Communications. Let me answer your question.
I think so.
I mean, well, and part of it is, I'm not gonna diminish the talent that comes in this group. I'm sure you've written your share of applications for. So, and that's not to say others of you haven't either, but part of that is getting the funds to be able to do those disbursements that are in effect going to be applied for by small business owners. And because once you start getting in with the larger businesses, that McDonald's is gonna approach you for TIF, right? I mean, they're gonna want a big chunk. They're not, and so that's the range really of an EDA, because you will have the small business owners as well as the bigger ones that are looking for a.
So if I may, like as an example, the state of Minnesota, Department of Deed, established a fund and then looked for, organizations to disperse those funds. So the DMC EDA, created, it was called this Main Street Grant Program. It was a 30-70 split. So the dollars just came through us, and then we were able to work with the Main Street kind of business owners on top. So it's like a little different way of, it's like not our money to give, but it was state money that we helped to facilitate. But in order to disperse those dollars, the board had to approve the disbursement. So we had a team of people that were saying, yes, they meet these requirements, and here's how it works, and then it kind of flowed through us to that space. So I would imagine that there'll be other opportunities like that as well, besides just the dollars that are established by the city council,
Right.
or the examples like that you gave.
Right, and you'll help develop the criteria for determining who can apply for grant funds. And then determining the scoring that's going to make the awards. I mean, I can look at across the street, you know, the little change he made in terms of the overhang. That is clearly to me something, you know, that if the EDA had been in place and active at the time, we could have assisted with some of those kind of facade improvements.
I see a lot of conflicts of interest in the future.
In your future.
We're putting a lot of money into our property over there.
Well, and disclosure, that's what I said, you know, of all the groups, this group is gonna probably have, and your business.
I already see the whistles going off. Oh, I land over here. Wait a minute, can I, should I?
Yeah,
Just go ahead,
I'm sure.
disclose,
Yeah.
disclose.
And the biggest thing is going to be disclosure and holding each other accountable, right? Because we don't want any litigation, because we can be sued and sue in turn as well, so. So sometimes there are advantages to being government, and sometimes not so much. A lot of groups, so that was my goal in having this joint training session, is so that you can all. You heard the same thing, you have the same information, and if you have any questions, I'm here to help. I have been with a city that experienced that serial meeting kind of thing that was going on, and was sued by a resident who led to the whole data practices disclosure thing, and by virtue of having to turn over phone records and timing, you know, you could trace all that information. What happened is they ended up losing their leak insurance and for a time, and it resulted in that city having to pay 3 times cost for coverage that was not as good as. So open meeting law is very, very, I'm very sensitive to it, so.
We're glad.
Yeah.
Keep us in check.
Oh, until you get like the 10th email that says, please email me, do not email. Okay, then I think one of you was ready to make it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Not that you need one. but- Right, because this is the one by unanimous consent, we're all good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good presentation.
Thank you. Did a good job. Succinct.
You want us to hold on to these name tags for next time?
They're very professionally done.
Let's figure out how to do this. How do I do this?
See you all. You too. Have a great night. I'm excited that it rained in here.
Yeah, much needed.
Nobody wants crispy grass and May.